Okay, boys and girls, so I thought I would go ahead and just read aloud the story that we read this morning for students that weren't able to get on live with us. Ruby Bridges, by Ruby Bridges and Grace Marconi, illustrated by Cornelius Van Wright and Ying Ha Hu. A long time ago, some people thought that black people and white people should not be friends. In some places, black people were not allowed to live in the same neighborhoods as white people. In some places, black people were not allowed to eat in the same restaurants as white people. And in some places, black children and white children could not go to the same schools. This is called segregation. The United States government said segregation is wrong. People should have a chance to live where they want, to eat where they want, and to go to school where they want. In 1960, Ruby Bridges went to kindergarten in a black school. She liked her school, she liked her teacher, she liked her friends. But there was a white school even closer to Ruby's house than the black school. The government said Ruby Bridges should be allowed to go to the white school. The school was called William Frantz Elementary School. In 1961, Ruby was in first grade. Ruby's mother took her to the Frantz school. 2 marshals went with Ruby and her mother to make sure that they would be safe. Some people did not want Ruby to go to the white school. They stood in front of the school and they yelled at Ruby to go away. The white parents took their children out of school. Ruby was alone with her teacher, Mrs. Henry. Ruby loved Mrs. Henry, and Mrs. Henry loved Ruby. Ruby was a very good student. She learned math. She learned how to read. Ruby wished the children would come back, but they never did. Then, when Ruby was in second grade, the children began to come back to school. At last, Ruby had friends to play with. Ruby was very, very happy. Many people read about Ruby in newspapers and books. A famous writer, John Steinbeck, wrote about Ruby. He wrote that Ruby was very brave. Norman Rockwell was an artist who painted a picture of Ruby. The painting became very famous. A First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, wrote a letter to Ruby. The letter told Ruby that she was a good American. Now Ruby is grown up. She's married. She has children. In 1996, Ruby and Mrs. Henry were both asked to be on a TV show. That was the first time they had seen each other in 35 years. Now they are together again. Because of Ruby Bridges, black children and white children can go to the same schools now. Ruby likes to visit schools. She tells her story to children. She tells children that black people and white people can be friends. She tells children to be kind to one another. Okay, that's the end. Okay, so listen to this story, and then I want you to watch the video that shows you how to do the writing. Okay?